Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy and I am an advocate for OCD, in particular Pure OCD, which is a community name for individuals with intrusive thoughts and mental rituals. It also happens to be the name of my memoir, Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. I'm a certified peer support specialist, working with people all over the world, providing support, walking alongside them as they are working toward recovery in any stage of recovery. And I also provide referrals for therapists anywhere in the world. I run 8-week closed groups so you can meet other people around the world who live with OCD, and it can help normalize what you're going through. And each group is run by a certified peer support specialist. OCD, and OCD is an app. Inside the app, you can find resources and also connect with people all over the world that have OCD, which can really help in your own journey. They also do telehealth. So to find out more on how to get therapy through them with ERP, go to nocd.com or treatmyocd.com. So I wanted to do this video tonight because I have done a couple videos on travel anxiety, but I'm always in the middle of travel when I do the videos. And so there's not a lot of anticipatory anxiety, and that's really what I wanted to share with you tonight. Somehow I'm always doing them like when I'm in a hotel or I'm in the airport or something. And so tonight I really wanted to touch on some of the topics before I leave. So I'm leaving to go to Spain tomorrow. I'm traveling to Denver and then I'll go to Spain on Monday. And I have had a lot of transformation in the last year or so about travel anxiety-wise, and I wanted to share with you what that's been like for me and also other struggles that people tend to have when they have OCD and anxiety, because this comes up a lot when I am in group, and mainly because I travel a lot for my nonprofit OCD Game Changers, and we do events all over the world, and so going to different countries and different cultures that I'm not used to. Maybe sometimes there's different language barriers, and that's scary to me. Travel is hard, and I think we sometimes beat ourselves up for it because we think that we should like it and that we should feel grateful that we get to travel. And so there's an element of shame there when you are experiencing anxiety around it, of everybody does this, I should love it. People love going on vacation. Why don't I? What's wrong with me? Because in a lot of times with OCD and anxiety, we feel very comfortable in our own routine, in our house, in things that are familiar, that are certain, that we feel like we have a lot more control over. And so when you travel, there's that degree of uncertainty and loss of control, especially when you're flying or driving somewhere. Or going by train. Even I struggle with that a lot, and I want to share that with you. Public transportation is, don't judge me, but I live in Colorado and we just don't have public transportation. Everything is car. It's just the way it is. I can't help it. But so when I go to other countries and they heavily rely on public transportation, I feel terrified. And I know that sounds stupid and you might be judging me, and that's fine. But I just feel like, oh my God, what if I get on the wrong train? Or, one time I was in the UK and I'm on the right train and it took me forever to finally figure that out. And then all of a sudden they were like, this train is going to split. And if you're going here, then do this and make sure. And I like panicked because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get off. And of course I have horrible directions sense anyway. And so I knew I was going to get on the wrong train. And so all of this I just wanted to talk about tonight. And I wanted to put this in like 3 points and then just talk a little bit about what has helped to me. So, I don't really know where my points are. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I was reading something from group last night. I was like, this has nothing to do with travel. Okay, so, actually the actual travel, the anticipatory anxiety about the travel can be really scary. You never know what's going to happen, right? I mean, for a long time with the travel, instead of looking at it as like the journey to the destination, I just looked at it as, this is going to be the longest day of my life. And please don't let anything go wrong. And that is unfortunately not what you can rely on when it comes to travel. There's delays, especially since COVID, y'all. Everything has been really even, tougher. And so, and in full transparency, I used to be a flight attendant. You may not know that, but back in 2000, when I graduated from college, I was a flight attendant for about 9 months. It was obviously not the career for me because I quickly quit. But at that point, when I was a flight attendant, I didn't have any fear of flying at all. But I was also like an employee, and so I always knew where to go, and I learned the system from the inside out. And now, even knowing that information, it's still difficult for me. So the actual travel, I think, is tough because it is what if something goes wrong? What am I going to do? What if something goes wrong at home while I'm there and then I can't get back? What if my flight is delayed, and what if I get stuck somewhere? The truth is I think a lot of what we deal with is, like I said before, the anticipatory anxiety of the what if things go wrong, when in reality, you deal with it. Things could be hard and can be hard when traveling. I mean, I have horror stories of traveling. But I just dealt with it at that time. I didn't like it and I didn't want to deal with it, but I did. And that's what we are capable of. And we tend to have an ability to trust our own selves in the moment of something happening where we have to make quick decisions. And in travel, we also, have trouble sometimes asking for help. I have an issue with just looking stupid, or someone thinking, or standing out. That's where I struggle with the most, especially traveling international. I don't want to stand out. I don't want people to know that I'm, clueless about their country or, their public transportation or anything. So I really struggle to ask for help. But I've learned, like, I would rather ask for help and be in the know than not ask for help and then have to like chase to find the answer. So traveling in general is just hard. So I want to validate that for you. It is, even if you're going somewhere that you want to go to, the travel could get in the way of you even thinking that the trip can be enjoyable. Then once you get there, then it is I'm waiting for the travel back. So now it's starting to ruin the trip where I'm at. I completely understand this. And things changed for me last year, I think, when I went to Germany, and I'll discuss that with you before or a little bit later. I used to just count the days going of the anxiety of, oh my God, what if the travel is so awful? And then I was like, once I get into Germany, it'll be fine. Once I get to the hotel, it'll be fine. But like the journey up to then was like, how many things could go wrong? And I am so scared. So I was white knuckling traveling to these places, when in fact I was capable of making decisions. I was capable of asking for help. I was capable of doing the things that I needed to do to get there. And then what I found in Germany too, and this is when things kind of changed for me, was 2 days into the trip, I went, oh my gosh, I only have 3 more days until I have to start thinking about traveling back, and what if everything goes bad and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, my light just went out. Let me turn it back on. And I thought to myself, I don't want to do this. If I'm going to be traveling places, I don't want to have to sabotage the trip before I leave and then sabotage the trip once I get there, for the travel back. And I'll talk a little bit about how I dealt with that before. The second point is getting triggered when you travel. So this is going to happen because you're in an unfamiliar environment. You don't feel like you're in control. There's a lot of uncertainty. And so triggers are everywhere, right? So if you have intrusive thoughts, I mean, anything and everything can trigger you in an airport, for fuck's sake. Like, just can. For mine, like, most of mine is vomit. Like, and I'll tell you an example of sexual intrusive thought before, but like, I worry so much that I'm going to be exposed to getting sick and then it's going to ruin the whole trip. Or so it's almost like sometimes I go and then it's like, when I'm traveling, am I going to get sick? And then the next 3 days are going to be awful. And then I'll only have like a day until I have to travel back. And what if I get sick on the way back? So my head starts spinning and I start doing these compulsions of who looks sick and should I wear a mask and should I this and that? And so, but very easily for any intrusive thoughts, if you have POCD, you're going to be looking, oh my gosh, am I going to get triggered because there's kids on the flight or there's kids here? If I have sexual orientation OCD, You're always around so many people, you're getting the groinals everywhere. And that's what I wanted to tell you. One of the worst times ever for me was when I was very into my OCD. Didn't know I had OCD. This was back in like 1996. And I was traveling to New York, and I was in such a horrific state of sexual orientation OCD. And I remember getting on that flight and the doors closing, and I had the worst groinal of my life. And I just thought, I am stuck on this plane for 4 hours with this groinal in this tight area, and like with people around me that I'm looking and going, oh my God, am I getting triggered by these people? What is this groinal? It was so horrific. I will never forget that. It's almost traumatizing when I think back the degree of trauma I felt there. When I remember getting off the plane and even just getting into the airport at LaGuardia and just breathing the air because I wasn't stuck somewhere, but it was so horrible for me because I had to sit there for 4 hours on this flight, stuck with a groinal in the middle seat. It was horrible. So triggers are going to happen. And I don't have any advice. I don't have any tips. I don't have anything. Just knowing that because you're already stressed, because you already have anxiety, that is a prime, you're just primed to have some sort of triggers. I wish I could tell you, do X, Y, and Z, and they'll go away. The only thing I can really tell you, and this is what I do when it comes to the fear of throwing up, and by the way, I'm having it already because, it's winter time and there's a lot of people sick and they stupidly get on a plane when they're contagious. I just think to myself, okay, if I do catch something on the flight, when I get to the hotel, I know I'm secure in a hotel, and I know that if I have to stay there because I'm sick, I will just deal with it. And I don't want that to happen. And I just have things in place to distract me if I have anxiety. And I said this in group the other day, and I'll say it to you. Sometimes I get on the plane, and when the doors close and we start going, I start to think, I'm going to panic. I'm going to have an anxiety attack, and I'm going to lose control, and I'm start screaming and throwing things, or I'm going to try to run out the door or whatever else. And you don't have to do this, but what I'm going to say to you is this, especially on international flights, sometimes I just look at the person next to me and I go, I have really bad anxiety. And if I look like I'm breathing really heavy and I'm starting to panic, don't worry, I will take care of that. I just don't want you to be alarmed, and you don't need to worry about me. And if I need help, I'll ask the flight attendant. And as silly as that sounds, then they're like, oh my God, are you okay? Or no worries, it's okay, whatever. And there's something about just being able to release that information to the person next to me. You don't have to do it at all. I'm not telling you to. But to me, it's just like, look, if I start panicking, please don't make a big scene. I will deal with it. And this is how I'll deal with it, and I'll be okay. And so that's helped me. And lastly, I just wanted to... I have no idea what that says. I cannot read my own writing. So instead of the last point, I want to say, talk to you a little bit about some things that have helped me, especially over this last year since I've been traveling so much internationally. First, this is it. I start to have some feelings when I'm leaving the house because I'm scared to leave the house. I love where I live, my routine, my this and that. Even if you don't love where you live, sometimes just the fact that you have a routine, you know what grocery store to go to, here and there. Sometimes when you start to travel, you think, oh my God, what if I never see this again, or I'm never back here and I didn't appreciate it enough? And I should appreciate it more. And now I'm going to die traveling. And then I should have known better. I go through this a lot. I sit here and think, oh my goodness, my dogs, I just drop my dogs off with the people that are going to watch them. And I think, oh my God, I'm never going to see them again. And then it's going to be my fault because I had to travel to Spain, or, something's going to happen to them, or, something's going to happen to my house and it's going to burn down while I'm gone. It's all my fault because I just had to travel or whatever. And so I get into the spiral. If I don't appreciate what I have, and I'll never see it again. That's the thing. I'll never see it again, right? So, like in the last couple of days, anything that I'm doing around my house, I think, you better enjoy this. This is the last time you're going to do it. And that's another way that OCD pulls you into that. and it just pisses me off. So that's another thing around traveling. So I want to go on really quick, and then I'll wrap up of the things that have helped me. So I have fully accepted and radically accepted I'm going to be traveling. I am going to be going to different countries. If I need to go to different countries or to countries that I've been to before and I need to stay in the same hotel, so be it. If I need to go to the same restaurants, so be it. I don't have any shame anymore about that. It's familiar. I want to stay in the same area so I know exactly where to go so I can feel like I belong. A big part of my issues are if I stand out, I'm scared and I look like an idiot and I want to feel like I belong. And so going to these countries, like we're going to Spain, and I'm staying in the same hotel that I stayed in last time I was there, and I give two shits. Like, I don't care if that means I'm not exploratory or whatever. That means I know exactly what to do and where to go, and I can catch an Uber from there if I want to go eat somewhere. But even eating is an issue, right? I want to make sure I'm eating somewhere. I know where to go. I don't end up lost, things like that. And that's okay. That is okay. Absolutely. That's not having the travel experience. That just is doing what you need to do to feel safe and secure. There was a time I was in Spain a couple years ago where I really just couldn't leave the hotel. That was not okay. And I wish that I knew what I knew now, but that was the first time I'd ever really traveled somewhere that there was a language barrier and I was in a bad headspace or whatever. And so I'm not judging myself for that, but I do remember being like, I'm just going to stay in the hotel. And you know what? I needed to do it at that time. And then I went to Spain the next year and it was awesome. And I'm going back tomorrow. So a few things, when I am actually traveling, so this will be on Monday. So it's about a 16 to 18 hour travel day. I try to check in with my senses in every stage of the travel, and I break the stages up. Am I taking an Uber? Am I getting dropped off at the airport? When I'm at the airport going through security, when I get to the gate, when I get on the flight and then land where I need to land, while I'm in there, when I fly again, when I'm there, when I get back, I check in with myself, like the senses. Okay, how can I use my senses to just see what's going on around me? That is grounding and being present. Because that's what we want to do when we travel and we get scared that we're losing all that because of our anxiety. Use your senses. Use your senses. When I was leaving the UK last year at one point, it was like an 18-hour travel day to get back. And I remember getting in the Uber at 5 a.m. And I was sitting in the Uber and I was like, I'm terrified. Like, fuck this. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, his coffee smells so good. And I was like, ground myself in the senses. Like, that coffee smells good. And I was able to look, like roll on the window a little bit and feel the air and look at the city as we drove by. And I was like, okay, now I'm experiencing what's going on right now and grounding myself in that, even though the anxiety was still there. The other thing, and this may feel like reassurance, and I don't give a shit because it helps me, I do think to myself, planes take off every day, all different airlines, from Europe to America, America to Europe, Europe to America, from all different countries, and everything is fine. I'm making up in my head that something might happen, and so I shouldn't do it. You know, I'm making up the magical thinking, oh my gosh, if I miss this flight, that must mean, oh my goodness, does that mean this flight's going to crash? Da, 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 da. These are all the fears that come along. And so I safely assume my flight is going to be like almost every other flight that makes it, and everything is going to be okay. Instead of having to catastrophize it, I just go, if something happens, I'll deal with it when it happens. Again, trusting myself. And then just remembering that, like, I have anxiety and it is okay to honor that, and it's okay to see it show up, and at the end of the day or during the day, just being like, okay, there's the anxiety, but I have things to do and I have places to be, and I'm going to take a step forward to do those things, which is just living your life while you have OCD and anxiety. So that's all I really wanted to say. I am going to be in Spain soon, and so I will do a little video. My birthday is this Friday. So maybe I'll do a video on Thursday night or Friday and just check in with y'all. But I hope this helps, because I know that a lot of people struggle with travel, and it's just not talked about enough, because it isn't necessarily just OCD specific, but OCD can get involved when you're getting triggered with your themes. I also know it's really hard, and there's no simple answer to it, but that I struggle with it too. And I just do my best every time I travel to learn just little bitty things that help me feel more like I belong wherever I'm at, and to help me feel like that I can ground myself, and that I can safely assume that flights take off day in and day out, and that they're okay, and that I am safe as well. So I hope that helps, and I will see you from Spain in a few days. Bye.